Nature is stronger than man. STEM Publishing, A. J. Pollock, Magazine Articles, Nature is Stronger Than Man. So acknowledged Field Marshal Goering in a recent speech he made to the German nation. Why not admit that God is stronger than man, for who is responsible for nature? Where does nature come from? It does not come of itself, and who endowed it with powers before which arrogant man is puny and powerless? At the beginning of the year we beheld Europe gripped in the cold embrace of Arctic weather, the severity of which had not been known for a century. When the civilized world was aghast to see that great ungodly colossus of 163 million millions, Russia, attack little Finland, with a population of under 4 millions, no more than that of the county of Yorkshire, we believe Christians all over the country betook themselves to prayer. Just when resistance seemed impossible, down fell the thermometer below zero, snowflakes by the million fell silently and persistently. The very elements fought against the godless Soviet armies. Was this a mere coincidence? We firmly believe the weather was God's answer to prayer that went up from thousands of his people for little Finland. Incidentally, it imprisoned Germany's icebreakers in her harbors and paralyzed her river transport so much so that General Goering was forced to admit that nature is stronger than man. This led to my attention being drawn to Psalm 147 verses 16 to 18. It was particularly striking to notice how the words, he, and his, are prominent. He gives snow like wool, he scatters his ice like morsels, who can stand before his cold? He sends out his word, and melts them, he causes his wind to blow, and the waters flow. All this is attributed to God and not to nature. He gives snow. He scatters his ice. It is his cold. He sends out his word. He causes his wind to blow. It is sad when we reduce everything to an impersonal nature, that these things must happen without any reference to anything particular. But these verses show that God is actively and intelligently behind what men call nature. In 1815 the fate of Europe depended on the state of the ground on the eve of the Battle of Waterloo. The ground was too sodden to employ the cavalry by the French army. Napoleon with his arrogant and proud will had to wait impatiently a day for the ground to dry. That delay gave time for the German army under Marshal Blücher to reach within striking distance, and materially to alter things. During the last war the Austrians were about to cross the little quiet river Piave, and overrun Italy, when a cloud burst, and soon the little river was a roaring torrent, which made it impossible for the Austrians to cross, and so gave time for the successful holding up of the threatened invasion. We find similar instances in Old Testament times. We read, "And the children of Israel said to Samuel, Cease not to cry to the Lord our God for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines." 1 Samuel 7 verse 8. Did God answer prayer? And as Samuel offered up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel, but the Lord thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines, and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel. Prayer was answered in the case of Gideon when the Midianite army threatened little Israel. Gideon blew a trumpet to gather Israel to battle. 32,000 men responded to the call. This was too many. They might have boasted, "Mine own hand has saved me," Judd 7:2, a test was proposed, and 22,000 departed, leaving 10,000. This was still too many, and a further test was imposed, and 300 warriors were left. The battle came. Gideon's 300 blew their trumpets and broke their pitchers, and their lamps were disclosed. Then they beheld the strange sight of the Midianites in their panic fighting each other, finally fleeing from the field of battle. The 300 had not cried in vain, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon," Judd 7:18. In the days of King Hezekiah the king of Assyria sent a mighty army against Jerusalem. With braggart language his generals threatened the children of Israel. In his weakness King Hezekiah rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and sent messengers to Isaiah, the prophet. Moreover he earnestly prayed about the matter. What was the result? Isaiah, the prophet, assured Hezekiah that his prayer should be answered. God said, "I will defend this city, to save it for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake." 2 Kings 19 verse 34. How solemn and yet encouraging was the answer. And it came to pass that night, that the angel of the Lord went out, and smote the camp of the Assyrians 185,000, and when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. 2 Kings 19 verse 35. Do not these instances, which could be multiplied, prove that God does answer prayer, especially when presented in humility and earnestness? Should we not take courage, and betake ourselves afresh to our knees? Could not prayer open the prison doors and liberate Pastor Niemöller and the 1,000 pastors imprisoned for Christ's sake? Shall we limit our God?